Well, Sherry, I'm so glad for our conversation today, for the community to get to meet you and to kind of get to hear what you do, but really to learn from you, as a lot of us in the community, we're at different stages of building a business, and to kind of understand, as we build businesses, we need help, and how do we find the right help at the right time in those different stages. So before we dive into some of that, will you share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
So my name is Sherry Murtaza. I am a director of business development at EasyTeams, which is a virtual assistant service. And we're a California registered company. I've been in the industry for a good 9 years now in total. I've been running this company for 2 years. And prior to that, I've been an operations manager into different offshore projects, as well as being a virtual assistant myself in the beginning of my career. So I've seen both ends of the road.
That's awesome. No, yeah. And as the world continues, virtual becomes more and more accessible. It's a really powerful tool in building our businesses, but sometimes it can be one that's a little hard to navigate, especially I think for a first time. But even as people kind of say, "Oh, I had someone who did this thing, but can someone do this other thing?" And maybe sometimes as we get into it, I wonder, I think sometimes I even went in our conversation, I realized there were things that's like, "Oh, I didn't know a VA could do
Mhm.
that." And it's
Yeah.
and so I'm excited to kind of maybe open wider what's possible for a lot of our community members as we jump in. So, but
Absolutely. It's
yeah.
funny, David. Most people
Mhm.
don't realize how much help they can actually get out of virtual assistant until they start talking about it. I
Yeah.
mean, there are too many unnecessary tasks on our plate that are not necessary for our presence to be in it or for us to do, like
Right.
admin work or follow-up calls, something that is just tedious day-to-day task, important, but not for us to do necessarily. So if
Right.
we have enough tasks, those can be delegated. And we don't really take out the time in our day-to-day to think about those that we can offload from our plate.
Yeah. No, I think so. Yeah, we just kind of think, hey, I got to get it all done, and
Yeah.
we're not
Prioritizing.
evaluating that, and yeah, and prioritizing, kind of triaging, go, oh wait, I'm the
Yeah.
only one who can do this, and a lot of times we think there's a lot more in that bucket than there actually is, you know.
Yeah.
But well, cool. Well, let's kind of jump into our different stages in the framework and kind of see, okay, how does this play out? What does this look like in each stage? It's our events stage. So it can happen anywhere in that business journey, but really an event is when something changes, and that can be something internal to the company. That could be like a merger, an acquisition, some sort of succession planning going on. It could be an IPO, something
Mhm.
internal that really changes the nature of the business. Or it could be something external. It could be some sort of market shift. It could be a regulatory change. It could be a global pandemic that makes everyone stay in their houses and buy a bunch of toilet
Yeah.
paper and all those things, but
Mhm.
um, it's a change. And so something, no matter whether you're early in adoption or you're later in scaling or somewhere in between, this event is causing things to change. What how should someone, when they're in that moment, how should they be thinking about offshoring and outsourcing and building teams and even facilitating those teams kind of in those transition times?
So, okay, first, in any event, I recommend doing your due diligence and hiring a team offshore first,
Okay.
right? Even if you're downsizing or upsizing, whatever you're trying to do, be sure that you're looking out for the right people to hire, the right company to hire them through, and doing your diligence work. Right. I'm not sure if you'd like to for us to dive into that just yet, but
Yeah. Well, we could
that's
like kind of what due diligence looks like. Is that what you're saying?
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Tell me more.
due Okay. So due diligence looks like okay. Um, Not many people know this, but you can find a very good freelance resource on Upwork, Fiverr, anywhere.
Mhm.
No trade to these platforms. They're just providing great work. And sometimes you're going to find great resources, but
Mhm.
sometimes or most of the time there's at least a 70% chance that you might not find the perfect fit, right?
Mhm.
And most of these people could be freelancers based offshore, not in your home country. In this particular situation, and in every situation when you're hiring offshore, I recommend hiring through a company that is registered in the country you're operating in. The technical reasoning behind that is because if you're hiring from a company that is registered in, let's say, United States, anywhere in the States, it could help you get into an NDA that is legally binding, a contract that is legally binding. If you're going to get into a contract with someone offshore and there's a breach, how will you hold it?
Enforce that. Yeah.
How will you enforce it? It wouldn't work, you know. And if it does, even if it does work, it's going to take a lot of effort and time away from you, and it will defeat the
Yeah.
purpose. So, first thing, hire someone through a company that is registered locally for you,
Mhm.
or at least in the same country as you. And then it doesn't matter which country they have a contract in, at least their skin is just in as much as yours. So
Mhm.
you have that part covered. Now, second part to it is make sure that these employees that they're assigning to your task are hired by the company. So they're managing them as well. It's not like
Um,
they're doing the matchmaking part where they're just connecting you with an employee and then, being out of the picture. They need to take full responsibility of the deliverables, of making sure the discipline is there, the work is being delivered on time, the quality of work, and everything. If the company is not ready to do that, well, that's a red flag for you. You need to run. So there are companies like that. My company, EasyTeams, is one of them. I've built it around these principles because I saw these loopholes in many other
mhm.
companies that were there. So just find a company, and there are many other like mine as well. Do
Mm,
your work, find out those companies, do your research. Be careful in hiring offshore, find their appropriate resource, sources that have been built, the companies that have put in a lot of effort to build this structure for
mhm.
themselves and others to make sure that business owners do not get hurt. So at that point, once your diligence is done, you've done your interview session, you've found the right resource, get them onboarded, start working with them.
Mhm.
But do it through proper channels. Don't go start looking for employees in Facebook groups.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, that's good. Um, well, and I thought it was interesting that you said whether you're upsizing or downsizing, still focusing on offshore. It does seem like to some degree too, just the lower cost reduces kind of the risk in a what is otherwise an uncertain environment. Like if you're in that event, you kind of don't know. You're like, I think we're upsizing, but something else could change. We're navigating
Yeah.
new waters. We're not on that more known path. And so there, in
Mhm.
some ways, by offshoring, you allow yourself to be a bit more agile
Yeah.
and able to shift as things continue to change because you just haven't the investment is lower, right?
Yeah. And one more thing is I recommend all my clients to do is if you're getting some technical work done, let's say a
Hmm.
task that can be quality checked if they perform a small task, have that company and that employee that you're going to hire, even for like let's say 6 months or 7 months, you don't want your work ruined. Have them do a small task prior to being hired so that you can check the quality of work.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
You don't want
That's good
to
advice.
realize 2 months later that, oh, they don't know how to do their job, or what they
Yeah.
presented was completely false.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No.
I work with a lot of construction firms, but I'm not an
Mhm.
architect. I'm not a rendering designer. I'm not an estimator.
Yeah.
Right? I have zero experience, but I can still get best resources for my clients. I can tell who is lying or not, but there's a certain degree which I can, tell from the quality of work if it's worth it or not, or if they're maybe showing me a portfolio that was not completely made by them. That was maybe a project of someone else that they are using to present to me, right? There is only so much diligence that even I can do on my. If my
Mhm.
client sends me a task for my employee to do, and then the client judges their quality of work based on the task they did, that is
Mhm.
completely done by them. That task was unique to them.
Mhm.
I can monitor on my part that my employee was sitting in the office completing that task under our supervision. That I can do. And, on my part, but my client can tell me right away before hiring them and before my relationship gets ruined with them. They can tell me, hey, this person doesn't know how to do their job. That portfolio was
Mm,
maybe fake. So let's
gotcha.
get someone else in.
So then that's a good, yeah, you're kind of you're dating your talent in a sense and kind of seeing,
Yeah,
hey, how well does this work? Yeah,
yeah.
that's helpful. Well, as we kind of wrap up, Sherry, are there any other just things you'd want to say to founders, um, just to really kind of whether it's to yeah, to just guide, to inform, to encourage as they're thinking about how do they manage talent? How do they outsource? How do they offshore? How do they figure out, one of the things we talked about a number of times was how do they determine the value of their time? Like anything you kind of want to close with as we're talking to founders here.
Okay, so even if you've just started thinking about starting a company, or if it's been a
Mm.
couple of years in, or if you've reached the sustainability stage or the scalability stage, any stage you're at, do network a lot,
Hmm.
not just to grow your business, but also to you never know who you're going to run into, and they're going to say share an experience with you that is going to resonate with you and
Hmm.
help you grow or do things better.
Yeah.
So do talk and network with other business owners around you, one. And don't give up on your dream just because it gets overwhelming or if it feels like it's too much on the plate right now. Not
Hmm.
every day is going to be the same. It's going to be like 200% stressful on one day, and then the next day maybe is 1,000% stressful. Well, that's what we signed up for.
Yeah.
That's what we
No, that's
chose.
a good reminder.
So, yeah, and just give yourself a breathing time in between. Ask for help from
Mm.
people. There's no shame in asking for help if you're someone who's new to starting their business, or if you've been in the business for quite some years, so there's no harm in asking for help. Ask for help from around business coaches, life coaches, therapists, anyone that you need. If you need a power group, power partners, anyone that you feel you can comfortably talk to those people. You'll
Yeah.
find a solution.
No, I appreciate that's a great exhortation, Sherry. And it really complements well with what we've been talking about of you're really it's again it's like okay, if I have this dream, who's going with me? Because, especially I feel like here in the West, we have this kind of like Lone Ranger version of the founder that's like, I know how to do
Yeah,
all the things and I'm gonna bootstrap and figure it all
yeah,
out and, whatever method. But really, no, it's always a team, even when it
yeah.
looks like one person out front, it's a team. And so I
It's a team.
appreciate, even as we've talked about more on the internal, like, how do I offshore these tasks? But I love how you frame that in. It's like, hey, you also have a community that you're walking in this with, people who are speaking into that, people who
Yeah,
are encouraging, keeping you accountable, providing guidance. That
absolutely.
really, that when we think about team, it's a much bigger circle that we're drawing. Um,
Yeah.
so,
And we humans, I feel, are always a work in progress. If any one of us thinks that we're completed, we've learned it all, we're fooling ourselves. We're
right.
constantly learning something new, and
Mhm.
the more we stay humble about it, the better for us, because then we'll actually reach out to people around us or try learning a thing or two, pick a thing or two from others around us. Doesn't matter if we're 20 or 60, we're constantly learning something every day. So we need to be just open to it and, embrace change.
I love that. Yeah, no, that's really good. Well, thank you so much for sharing with the community. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed getting to know you also and getting to learn more about. I remember our first conversation, it kind of blew my mind on how much was possible to offshore and even, how early in the journey it's like, oh, I guess I don't have to wait. I think that's often a pitfall that I know myself, but I see other founders as we coach founders like fall into is like, oh, I need to wait till here to start doing that. And just so, yeah, I think that's been fun that I've learned from you is just both how accessible it can be, but also like, yeah, there's so many more things, more ways that I can find the help I need than I realized. So I appreciate you sharing today, sharing that with our community. I'm excited to see how that helps them build new things that makes the world better. So thanks a ton.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David.